So it is important to think about what it is that we do day to day. And sometimes I think people get a bit, again, it can be hard if you're running the rat race and you've been doing whatever your whole life and it's gotten you the same outcomes. You don't like the outcomes, but you're used to it. At least you understand it and you know what's coming. The idea that it could be worse is too scary. But the thing that's interesting about this is it really is more simple than people think. Sometimes it's hard to know what to do. And I don't dispute that. But the more time you spend doing things that, again, if it's hurtful towards you or anybody else, right? And this is something that can be hard, I think, for people to contemplate. And again, in terms of astrology, it can be what sign you have in Mercury, because it's to do with you, with how you think, how you communicate, your intellect. It can be the third house or the sixth house. Um, Probably more the third when it comes to intellect, and the sixth house, it's more about like how things affect you in terms of your daily life. So they're both kind of related, but still. And it isn't just human beings, right? It's animals too. So at the end of the day, whatever you partake in, that it doesn't matter how small or how big of an impact, if what you do leaves you feel, and this is why I said this can be difficult, when if a lot of what you do leads you not being happy and not feeling good and all the rest of it, it's difficult to determine what things are leading to that. So if you, for instance, and this is something, like I said, it gets people, I mean, well, it should, gets you to think, really. When you're in your head, because this is where it needs to start, really. If you're in your head and, I don't know, something happens. Let's just say you're doing something and then you feel like you did something that was a bit silly. And whether you decide to say it out loud or not, in your head, you're just beating yourself up. That was so stupid. I'm such an idiot. This kind of stuff. Right? And this is just one isolated incident. What if you do that all the time? And there are people who do. In fact, a lot of people. So let's just think about that. Every single time you do something that you don't think was smart, or that you didn't like, or that somebody else makes fun of you for, or whatever, something breaks because of what you did, or it doesn't matter. Like I said, take your pick. If every time that happens, you just completely just go nuts and just beat yourself up over it, I mean, not much that comes out of you is going to be nice or positive, is it? Like, you're not going to have positive things to say about other people because you don't say it about yourself. And this can be really difficult. Like I said, people learn to do this from this society, from our parents, from any kind of structure. And again, the reason that this happens and it's difficult to determine where it comes from, everybody's different. So what one person feels ridiculed by, somebody else may not. And so there's this concept, a lot of people, and I've talked about this before, but people think, oh, well, this person did it on purpose. It's like, no, they didn't. Yes, there could be some things that people know about that upset themselves or each other. And I guess in that regard, if it's something that's fairly well known. But, I mean, geez, like, when you start to really think about this, like, if you're going to start expecting everybody else to know what upsets you, and then everybody expects you to know what upsets them, I mean, you can see how ridiculous that's going to get. And that's why, like, I say this all the time, because I see it all the time online. I see it all the time in person when I go places and I talk to people. It's so difficult because it becomes this, well, you should have known better. It's like, why? Why should they have known better? This whole idea that we're expected to know Most people don't even know what they think or feel, let alone someone else. And yet we're supposed to know every single other person's minute little facets, all of their traumas and wounds, all of the experiences they've been through. And then to remember it on top of all the things we have to do. I mean, I'm sure as I talk about how extreme that is, you're probably thinking, oh my God, that's a bit much. But when you think about it, if you get mad at someone for that, it's kind of what you're expecting. You should remember mine, and well, maybe even again, it depends on how self-focused you are, but you should remember all of my things and not do that to me. See, I think all of these are, they're signs of either things we need to work on within ourselves. Like, again, you got to think about it. When you do something, or somebody else you feel did something to you, and you're very unhappy about it, you got to think about what that is. Like, is that thing that happened, is that just like a highlight to what you need to work on within yourself? Chances are part of it is, if not all of it. So it's not really about the other person. You can't do anything about them. You can't do anything about it. You can't change it. You can't make them be something else. There's no point in going down that point of view. And like I said, I know I'm talking about a lot of things here, but the more time you spend engaging in things that don't really matter, like, again, what matters and what you should put your focus in is what it is you're trying to achieve. Now, everybody's going to be a little different. Everybody has a different chart. Everybody has a different purpose. Everybody has a different, way going forward. And again, it depends on what you believe. I personally believe that we have many lives. Not in this body, right? But the spirit inside does. And so, I think they have some links. Again, it depends on what it is you want to learn, what you want to grow from, what you want to do next time. Like, there's a lot of variables, but to me, it doesn't make sense. Why would you waste, and I'm saying waste on purpose, why would you waste your time? The time of this life and this body, why would you waste it with people who you don't feel good around, doing things you don't really like, eating things that aren't good for you? Like, I know there's variances, but like I said, if you are tremendously unhappy with who you are and what you look like, you have to look at what it is you're doing in your lifestyle. That's just how it is. It's a lot more simple than you think. It's harder to put it into practice, but that's why, again, it depends on what kind of person you are. In terms of readings, I do have a health reading, so if you were personally struggling with weight challenges or self-esteem issues or whatever, I could look into those areas and see where your struggles are, and then we could talk through how to fix that. But ultimately, that's what's really important to do, because otherwise you waste your life doing things that make you feel bad. And for what? Just to repeat the same thing over and over again. You're not learning, you're not growing, you're not developing. And that's what it's all about, So it's these sort of individual steps where you unpack and extract what it is you need to be doing, okay? And again, like in terms of life purpose, like it all depends on where you're struggling. So if you're struggling with the concept of you don't know what you're doing here, like you're depressed because you don't feel like you have a purpose. You don't feel like there's anything that you can contribute. I guarantee you there is. It just might not be clear to you. And that's not a nice feeling. I mean, let's just call it what it is. That's not a nice feeling. You're going through life thinking that you're not here for any reason, that you have no purpose. No wonder you're depressed. And again, it's hard, if you grow up with, parents who put themselves down and put you down, like, it's hard to break through these. They're like cages, I guess, you can have multiple cages in multiple areas of your life where you're just stuck. And it's a matter of, especially with the human spirit, you kind of have to hit the bottom or be curious. That's another really good area. If you're curious, then you can kind of go, okay, well, what can I do instead? What, let's get creative. Let's think about something else. And, it's either you're in a lot of pain or you have some sort of serious outcome that, motivates you to change, or, you're getting bored and you want to do something else. Like, you can kind of take any of these avenues. You up for a new challenge. But at the end of the day, like, again, the more fixed signs you have with influences of like challenging things, challenging planets or asteroids or challenging aspects or whatever, and if you don't rise to the occasion, then it can be, difficult, because if you're fixed on it, it's hard to kind of take your way around that. But again, it all depends on how you look at it. If you look at things from, once you set up a good system for yourself, then you're fixed and you keep doing it. That's a good thing. If you have a system that's not so good, then you're fixed on that and you keep doing that. That's not so good. But it depends on how you look at it. Like I said, I know I've said that a few times, but it really does. Perspective is important. And there's always going to be an insecure, low vibration version, and secure high vibration. And then obviously there's in between as well. And it just helps to show when you start to understand. Again, it's all how you look at it. If you feel more connected to your emotions and your feelings, pay attention to how you feel when you're doing something. If it's not working for you and you don't feel good about doing it, then start unpacking where that comes from and why. If you're more thoughts based, logic, one step after the other, then do some thinking. Think about how your patterns have led you to where you are, and whether you're happy about it or not. It's this kind of stuff, and it takes time. It's about unpacking it and not being afraid to. And at the end of the day, if you're not ready to do it now, start setting up processes for when you are ready. But it's okay to do a little bit here and there, and a little bit here and there, till you kind of get where you want to be going. And you'll notice whether it's the right or wrong if you start to really hone in and pay attention to things that work and things that don't work. It's difficult sometimes to pinpoint these things. Like I said, I'm much better if I have a chart, because I can focus then on what the person is wanting, because I can see it in the chart. And then, I don't know, I get insights, I get perspectives, points of view, I get all kinds of things. And then that's what I tend to tell the person, which is really cool. Then we go from there. So it is a bit easier for me to talk about more specific things, but I do need a specific chart. I need a person who wants me to focus in on something. That's why readings are so great. So, if this is something that you struggle with, or any of the other things that I do, or even if you're not sure if I do, just check with me and I'll let you know whether I do or if I can tailor something to you. But yeah, I'm thinking I probably should get coaching going so I can actually interact with people, back and forth. So I might look into that, but I hope that was interesting.